in the neighborhood. When Shannon spoke with you, and I understand that, but you can't do something about a nuisance ordinance? I mean, how many times does code have to be called up there? Nothing ever gets done. There's a violation if you look close enough.
My landlord has called numerous times. I have called numerous times. She's called numerous times.
Well, and that's the other thing. They've rented it and nobody has inspected it.
Have you had rental inspections at the property?
They are scheduled for a rental inspection this year.
That's where you'll find those violations.
I'm sorry?
He said they haven't had a rental inspection, they're inspected this year, we do them every 3 years.
Yeah, they're scheduled this year, July sometime.
But, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is what about all the other times that we have called them to come up?
I can tell you for sure that Mr. Swope was there last Thursday.
That I do know.
Last
He
Thursday,
assured me
and
on the
Mr. Swope
phone.
did a follow-up inspection there today.
And he didn't see the trailer full of garbage that they have sitting out there?
I was not there, ma'am. I can just tell you where Mr. Swope was there. I can't
Maybe
confirm or
slightly
deny what he saw.
We can't hook up until that bill.
Do you want to know what, when I call the police on them, when they harass my daughter, when they give her the finger, and there's nothing the police can do because it's not illegal, do you know what they tell me? Call again, Shannon, there's nothing they can do. It's absolutely absurd. These people act like they're above the law. It's absolutely ridiculous. What are we supposed to do as a part of this community to help make sure our kids, everybody in our neighborhood is safe? What do we do? We are coming to you guys because we're at a loss now. We have no idea what to do. I've been dealing with this for 3 years. These people have been harassing us for 3 years.
And every time when we do try and do something, call code on them, call police on them, then they retaliate by vandalizing something on our
What's
property.
their address, next door or down the block?
It's
125.
123 Fairmont is Brad and Christina Yorby. He currently is up on felony charges for running a chop shop out of his house. He has 10 counts in Northumberland County and 2 counts in Lycoming County.
Felonies.
And then at 125 is where they are running to, I think it's Thelma Stewart, and then the one that's on Megan's Law is Sidney Wayne Coop Jr.
And you're saying he's in that house now?
Oh,
Every
yeah.
day, all day.
His current residence at 532 Line Street is already up, it's
For
already up for rent.
How do you know he didn't register? How do you know he's not?
Because I've been checking Megan's Law, and I even am emailing right now with Melissa Davis from the state police, which she has already contacted Brad Hare, that he just told me before the meeting. I mean, I understand that they, for some reason, have more rights than what we do because they're getting away with harassing our children. But even if we can go after the way, how dirty and stuff they are and pull their renter's permit or do something to them, that they can't keep bringing these type of people into our neighborhood. In the small block that we have from the Sunbury Middle School, from where I own my property, right across the street, there's 13 children. It's not fair to those
In the
kids.
center.
And I understand what you're saying that, you know, we can't, I had a petition started to try and ban them renting to them. I understand that I can't do that, so, but there was a lot of people willing to support that. We're to the point, we just want to do something that they can't keep bringing these people into the neighborhood.
All right, so we have a code inspection coming up very directly, and we'll sit down with the chief and go
And also, they
over
don't
what we can
have,
possibly do.
they have, I think it's a mother, a daughter, and a grandchild, is who they show in that property. I just checked it today and verified it, and we're supposed to contact, I think Mrs. Jordy is one we're supposed to contact, from what the file said. They were told to get a hold of somebody there to find out what the story is. But if any new people move in, they must provide
Update the
a
permit.
rental slip to us. And they don't, then they're in violation, they get cited. But that's the first we were made aware, at least I was made aware of it. And we checked it out today, and the only 2 people that are registered as being in that house and are legally there by the rental information we got is Mrs. Stewart, another Stewart, and a child. So I'm assuming it's a mother, a daughter, and a grandmother.
And he's over there. And the thing is he's either gonna end up registering there or at the red brick apartment building across the street. Either way, he's there around our kids.
And if that, I mean, if they fill out, if they're ready for him, and they fill out the proper paperwork, we, as the city, can't do anything. I don't know what the laws are for registering. Under the Megan's laws, I know there is a certain distance by a schoolhouse or something like that, that's going to. But I mean, as far as the code enforcement of the city, as long as they abide by the ordinances, we're kind of.
And I understand that as far as he goes, but that doesn't excuse the trash. And it says that you need 3 or more complaints within a 12-month period. If everybody would have showed up when we called them, we would have those 3 in by now.
3 or more.
I think we need to take a look at this property and see if we can't declare it a nuisance property. I mean, put these people through this is ridiculous.
My 13-year-old daughter
Because
would like
children,
for us
obviously,
to-
children and youth should be called, but we're afraid to do it. Because we're the first 2 that they're gonna come to, and that I put just a couple $1,000s into my swimming pool. I did all my permits and everything that I was supposed to turn around and have them ruin it. We call children and youth because those poor little kids are playing out there. There's gas cans, there's 4 gas cans out there. My youngest one, when she went to look over the fence to see if they had any of our pool stuff over there, the one little one dumped gas on her feet. They're out there for hours at a time. They don't come out and check on them. I'm surprised one of them hasn't gotten hurt as it is. I mean, but you want to help the kids, you know, for their safety, but you have to be afraid of what they're going to do to us or our kids. And it's not fair to feel that way. We were fine up there until they moved in. And you can already tell what type of person he is for all of the charges he has against himself. And he obviously doesn't care about his family that he's running to this gentleman. He knows he's in there. They're working on the house together.
Now, is he in the house that they own, or is he in the house where the tenants are?
He's in the house where the tenants are, but the landlords live at 123 Fairmont, and then they rent out 125.
He's 125.
Correct.
My daughter would like to address the council as well. She has a lot of thoughts on this and just how these kids feel in this neighborhood. She's 13 and I told her she could speak today. Go ahead.
We like to go outside and play, and they will watch us out their windows. And then it was just the other night when we were playing manhunt right outside, and they would open the window and they would watch us. And it was Jacob who went over there and was watching them, and they still peeked out the window. And then we went back to the alley, and they went all the way upstairs in the attic. It was the very top. They turned on the lights and they watched us. And then we acted like we left, and they shut the curtain, and then we went back and they watched us more. And that, the section shooter didn't talk about, whenever we're outside, we walk past nonstop. So I know he's watching, and it's very serious.
They're currently getting evicted from 139 Fairmont, the grandmother, the granddaughter, and he got an eviction notice from 532 Lime Street. I mean, these guys are known to be nuisances. And all we're trying to do is ask you for your help to try and follow up on this. I mean, I understand everybody's busy,
That's
but
not the point. We're limited to what we can do, but what I'm going to say is, we'll do something. So if you don't hear from us, or if you don't like what's happening, next year, back for the next meeting, we meet every 2 weeks. In the meantime, we have the code office and the police department, and we'll at least be able to tell you what we can or cannot do. I'm not sure he wasn't even fined today. If you say he was up there last Thursday, he was up there again today, if the garbage is still there, chances are the SWOP already wrote him up. But we'll wrote the people up, and we'll see how that goes. But anyway, there's no reason why we can't follow up on this forever. Okay? Thank you for coming. Anybody else? Young lady in the pink shirt first.
I would like to find out if you can put any signs up for any of these buses.
For any of the what?
The buses that are coming into town from the Chinese restaurant. I have a business, I love people coming into the city to shop and everything, but they don't shop in any of the other places. Last Monday, at 9:30 in the morning. I had to actually walk across the street from SRI to my business to bring my stuff in, because there was 4 buses parked on the corner, and my 3 trucks that I have come in every Monday couldn't even find a parking place. The one drove around the park and parked in the middle of the street, started back to leave it unload. There's gotta be something that has to be done.
I'm trying to route them in that parking lot back by the synagogue.
Half the time that girl's out there telling people to go back there, and half the time she isn't. And I don't know what to do. I'm out there yelling at them. I have customers, they can't get into any of the places down there. It's crazy.
Well, we're writing parking tickets out, I know for a fact.
Oh, I know, I have Todd's phone number, and I call him all the time. I mean, it's crazy. But I don't know if there's something that can be done. Can we put signs up, no bus parking, no something? I
We
don't
need to find a
know.
place where we're parking. So most of them aren't going in the back parking lot?
No, I feel sorry for the pharmacy. They pull right up in front of that pharmacy, and they sit there, and they sit there. And they don't leave. They go in and eat, and then when they're done eating, they come back out. And sure, they'll put money in the meters, but, you know, the one time, I mean, Todd wrote them up, it was like $70 for fines of 1 bus. 4 different tickets. I mean, it's crazy. They're going in front of their runner place, the swim place. They can't get in there. They're everywhere down there. So I don't know what can be done, but something really needs to be done. And if they were going into other businesses, buying things from other businesses, I would not say a word, but they're not. They're going to the Chinese place, they're coming out, they're taking pictures. As I told Jim said, why don't we sell postcards? You know, maybe that's a good idea, let's make some money, you know what I mean? Hey, that's great. But you still gotta get the buses off that other people can't come in for any of the businesses.
Okay.
So I don't know what
We have to
can be
look at a
done.
specific ordinance just to address buses in the
Yeah.
downtown, period.
Okay, thanks.
But, okay, thank you. There was another hand. Go ahead.
Yeah. For the LPG, when will the payment for the kickball fee be paid?
March, we have a meeting at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning. It's a pre-construction. Okay? You want to stop down, listen to the meeting?
You're welcome.
I'll have your father pick me up, buddy.
Okay?
He's mine.
Oh, we know.
No downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
That's a tough one to follow, man. Senator Count, I'd like to take a couple minutes of your time. One of these tenants are my tenants, okay, on Fairmont Avenue, where we have a nuisance problem. I have 2 other houses within 3 blocks of that neighborhood. My question is, we've made the rules for drug people in the city. We cannot rent them. Why can we not go to pedophiles and start a process not to rent to them?
We can definitely look into
Because
it.
my question is, you know, if we have to file paperwork with the code to do all our things, and they were caught for drugs since 2012, we cannot rent to them. I think a pedophile is a much higher cause than a drug dealer. That's just my personal opinion. But I'd like to see that looked into, that these people would not have to go through this and worry about their children where they are 24/7.
That's a good suggestion. I'm not sure it's legal, but
I
we'll
don't know
definitely look into it.
Yes.
A few years ago, we did pass an ordinance, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, passed an ordinance when this was a hot topic. We were told at that point and we put within so many feet. It would be within so many feet of a school, so many feet of whatever. And we were told at that point that ordinance was not a legal ordinance because you had to have live someplace. So we should relook at it.
I understand, and I knew that was going to come up. They have to live someplace. I understand that. But if we can pass a drug situation in the city, I think we can pass something to keep them out of our neighborhoods that these women try to make look nice and keep good, and we have one bag aid. So if we could all take a look at that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to talk about the brush pickup?
Yes. It won't affect us this year, but next year, we're looking at going twice a year. The state only requires it to be twice a year. What happens is, we can go out, sometimes the truck's out 5 days a week, just driving around looking for stuff. Sometimes there's 2 trucks out. It's not effective for us to do that. So So we're looking at possibly next year, 2 weeks out of each, the beginning of the fall, or I'm not sure when, we have to work that out. And then, if somebody has thrush, we'll just have to make arrangements and take it up to the site on, up there by Byers. I won't mention the family's name, but we had one guy call 5 times the other day, 5 times. He expected somebody to come right away and get him. You know, so.
That's not possible.
Right, I know, it's just not cost effective for have at least one truck and 2 guys driving around. We could try that better than something else.
But you're still doing it right now.
Correct, yeah, it won't change this year because we're already in.
What are the people supposed to do with their
Take a rent the brunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I wanted to bring my situation to notice. I was just recently working over at the OIP right here on Market Street. April 16th, I had a court appearance at Judge Applebaum's. I was scheduled to be at work at 10:30, and I let my boss know that since it was 9 o'clock, I would be there, before 10:30. I got out of court at 10:20, and Officer Bennick, I'm thinking, okay, I have to go to work now, so whatever it is that need to be done, we can handle that, later, which was me getting fingerprinted. So he instructed me, you won't be going to work right now, because if you're not over to the police station to get fingerprinted, then you already know what's gonna happen. So I went to the police station. He didn't show up there until about 11 o'clock now. My boss is texting me the entire time, where you at, and I'm explaining to her what I'm doing. So I went to the receptionist desk about 3 or 4 times, and I asked him, hey, can I leave and come back on my break, which would have been at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And they instructed me, no, I can't leave, I have to get this done. Long story short, I got terminated that day because I wasn't at work the time that I told her I would be. So the next day I went there and I spoke to Officer Mazio. Yeah, I spoke with him. And he explained to me, go and get your fingerprint order, which could be proof that that's where you at. I said, well, she knew where I was at, but the point that I wasn't there, that's the only thing that was mattering to them. So I went in to the police department and I asked them for my fingerprint order. They didn't have it. So I went over to the administrative building and I got my fingerprint order, and it said on the paper I could have went there from the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So the entire time that I was sitting in the police office asking to leave to be to work, they instructed me that I couldn't. First of all, they didn't have the fingerprint order for me in the beginning to get fingerprinted. And then second of all, when I was asking to leave all those times, I could have left and been at work and still have my job today. And just now, I still have no job. My my probation officer won't help me get that job. And I was doing excellent, doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And since I've been terminated in April, I still haven't found a job now because of my background.
All right, well, I'm gonna let the chief address this, but I want to guarantee you one thing. We do not have officers down there that can do fingerprinting 10 hours a day, 8 hours, or 6 hours a day. If they told you you have to wait for somebody to get there, it's because somebody had to get there. In other words, there's not officers sitting down there just to do fingerprinting.
There was an officer there.
Chief, you want to say anything to this? Or
What happens is, when people get fingerprint orders, for some reason, it's the county's problem. They're the ones that put on the order, you can go in 9 to 5. That's not our rule, that's theirs. When guys have their hearings, they'll start at 9 o'clock. Some of them have 2 to 3 hearings. And sometimes it takes 3 to 4 hours to get out of that office. So what we tell people is you have to go report to the police station because they have a fingerprint order by law. They have to go get fingerprinted that day or whenever the date says. If it's prior to the hearing, we'll tell them to come in then or the day of the hearing. So what happened was Officer Benning was most likely tied up with other hearings, so he was able to leave. You can't just leave because, as Mr. Applebaum can tell you, you don't just leave the court because somebody's waiting. So that's the problem. By the time he got there, it was already past 11 o'clock. I mean, it's every Tuesday for us. It's just it's just impossible for us to try to get everybody there at one time. But I mean, I had one guy usually every Tuesday I'll stay, and it's like he's there for 6 hours, fingerprinting in between hearings, and we do the best we can. So it's just a process. Unfortunately, it's not a pretty process. It's not a fast process. It's a very slow process, unfortunately.
But when he came into the department, he came in, went in the back, and then he left directly back out, didn't even say nothing to me about anything. I had to go and ask the question, ask myself, and he said, well, somebody in there is gonna fingerprint you now. Okay, now he left. I'm going to the receptionist lady and asked her, can I come back? Like, I'm coming back today. It's only a couple hours, and I'll be back here to get fingerprinted. And I was instructed that I couldn't. Okay, now they're saying it's the administrator's problem. Okay, so ever since this jail burned down, this is the excuse that I'm getting for everything. That they don't know what's going on here. They ain't letting the police department know that, yeah, they can come and do this time. So just because they're all in the confusion themselves, I'm out of a job, I lost my job, I got 3 kids that I have to take care of. And because of their little mix-up, now what do I have now? I've been staying at his house, and he's been helping me. Now I still have no job. I can't pay him nothing. I can't fault him because I have to go because he got his own house and other tenants that's paying, and I'm one that can't because I got terminated. So now, I'm in a nutshell, like, what am I gonna do? I don't want children, youth to take my kids, you know, from me, and I'm trying to do the best because I'm a single mother myself.
Right, but all I'm saying is that I can't, I'm sorry about your situation, there's nothing I can really do about that. But all I'm saying is, you have to understand, there was not officers down there to do that. So the fact that that officer got back too late, it's that way every time we have that down there. It just isn't, we don't have enough manpower to have people down there. So
There was an
I don't think there's
officer
anything
there.
done intentionally, it just didn't work out for me.
It was Officer Taylor that was there.
But you have to understand something, these guys work permanent shifts. So Officer Taylor is working day shift when he's covering calls, he has his, I have his duties, his responsibilities, he has to get done. Officer Bennett works night shift, so when Officer Bennett gets done with his hearing, we usually have somebody coming in later on to fingerprint. He's gotta get home and get some sleep. So that's, it's, unfortunately, it's not a nice process sometimes, but like the mayor said, I feel, bad for what happened, but it's every day, it's every Tuesday it happens.
Yes, sir.
I was actually there. I actually wanted to talk about the situation. She's one of the tenants that is actually trying to do something with her life. I had a tenant that, of course, I did all the thing, and she said she's doing good, and she started relapsing. Okay, I called police on her because she's nodding out on my porch. Okay, I called the police. Scott Haas came up. Of course, he called the ambulance, and they did EM did a check on her stuff. She's obviously high, but it is illegal. It's not illegal to be high and nodding out in public. He could not arrest her, couldn't cite her, just call an ambulance because she's not a threat to somebody else or a danger to herself. She can't be arrested. I don't know where this is coming from, but as you know where I live at, I have a basketball court. There's tons of kids living, and you know what? I went in a room. I'm like, I'm appalled of the ridiculousness of the whole every code, every ordinance. When you can't have somebody arrested, and you know what? Even if okay, I made a mistake at the age of 22. Okay, I changed my entire life around, but I'm glad I got caught for doing something wrong. Okay, at the age of 22, it saved my life. I go to church. I changed my entire life. I feel comfortable with giving somebody second chances and breaks. When they break, I do the right thing and make that call. Okay. I felt really weird that I could not, because if an officer of the law would have arrested her, threw her in jail, or given her a fine, fines do make you think more. They're going to do something to you eventually. You're going to maybe wake up and smell the coffee. Hey, I'm tired of getting fined. I'm tired of being thrown in rehab or something. Maybe I will change my life. It might point people into the right direction. I don't know. Okay. I have her on videotape. I actually have her, because I do have it on my porch, I do video and audio monitor. I do have a video and audio. Later that evening, she actually admitted, hey, I was high. It's funny, you can listen to it. I was high, yes, I was high earlier, but guess what? You can't do nothing about it because you can't be arrested for being high. Because I didn't have nothing on me. It states, I have it on Facebook, it states clearly what she said. She actually made fun of the police department because you can't be arrested for being high in public. I'm actually appalled by it, but okay.
That's not, the city of Sunbury didn't just pass that law.
I'm just saying, I just thought maybe that's something to look forward if you are nodding out on a porch can we get the Sunbury Police Department, like, get a law to allow them to at least arrest somebody like that? Like, if they're nodding out, being on some type of, maybe over-medicating himself or something. Something's wrong. It's just not a good sight for young kids to see, and it's not okay for kids to see that. And it's really despicable.
We'll talk to the chief about it. Thank you. Anybody else? Jim, Market Street, 12 to 13.
Lee, you want to give a rundown on that?
Back in April 30th, we received bids for the Market Street project for 12th to 13th Street. That's the streetscape project. We're redoing the curbs, sidewalks, and street lighting. We got two prices that day. One was from GR on Charles for $432,384.62, which was the total bid. And Mid-State Paving was the other price we got at $519,495. Our estimate for the project was $464,000. So it was pretty much in between the two bid prices we received. We reviewed the bids, also Alpha Ball's office also reviewed bids, found everything complete for both bidders. So at this point, we recommend award to Gina and Charles for the total bid price. We've talked about, there was a base bid and then two alternates. Base bid was the north side of the street. Alternate number one was the south side of the street. And alternate two was the little section from 13th Street to the flood wall on the north side of the street. Our opinion is at this point, because you're working in Market Street, with traffic and everything else, it makes sense at this point to go ahead and award since it was under our estimate for one. Second off, if we didn't award the whole project, you would have, of course, mobilization for the second phase plus protection of traffic. Of course, the re-advertising, engineering documents to re-advertise. You're probably talking $20,000 to $25,000 to go back and rebid the process for that southern section. So at this point, we think it makes the most sense to go ahead and award the total project and to go ahead and get this project started.
From the finance end of it, I'd just like to make council aware that we have about $300,000 money established. It would mean that we would have to borrow a little bit of money. However, right now we have a line at about 2%, so it will be much less expensive for us to borrow that money and pay it back over the next 18 months than it would be to do this project in two phases. The actual cost to carry the interest is only going to be between $5,000 and $6,000. But you just heard, if we do this in two sections, it's going to be $25,000. So I recommend it from a finance position that we go ahead and do the whole project. I've talked with our treasurer, and we can borrow that money short term, and we have and pay that back over the next 18 months.
One good thing, John, that wouldn't be due until probably the beginning of 2016. Okay. So we have this time, and I'm not sure, Kevin, is there any, well, and we can look around, it might be, for every 1,000 we find sitting here that we can shift across and utilize it, we can utilize it. I'll make that in the form of a motion. What was the exact?
GR Charles, you said?
GR Charles, GR 32. Thank you.
I'll second.
Here we are. $384.62. I make that form of motion. Bid the whole project out or release it to GR Charles. Thank you.
Rick seconded. Okay.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Mr. Shipman?
Yes.
Mr. Reichman?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Isley?
Jim, Burger King?
Burger King, you all was emailed a copy of the proposed rent agreement. You want to study it for next meeting, we'll address it at that time. Mike will get you a copy so you can review it.
Exactly, Jim. I know that as a part of that, we wanted to make sure, as we talked, that we have a cross easement agreement arranged between Burger King and Sunoco. Mike Cool and I reviewed it. We're going to give them a markup so that we don't have something that burdens us later on if they hit the title. So that's our main focus. And we'll review that with you before it goes out.
Excellent.
Any word on the Sunoco starting?
It was supposed to be this week, but I think it's backed up. I think they're waiting on this finalization of this. And Dave, the problem was, they wanted a permanent easement which meant that they could sell that property that they own and still have that easement. And talked to Mike Kula and Jim and Michael, and decided the easement would be given to the term of the contract. And we would give them the term of the deed.
But that's, they understand it now?
So no, I'm sure.
I think there's.
They understand what you just said. Now, whether they accept it, I don't know.
The yield is probably pretty something like. So,
Yeah, everything's there.
they're close.
The permits were filed. I don't know if they.
They'll agree.
I was just in conversation on Friday with the engineering firm. They are delayed, they were supposed to start today, actually today. However, they're delayed due to some changes corporate-wise. So they're delayed, they're not sure.
They gotta be awful close.
I'm sorry,
You have to be awful close.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else? I want to thank everybody for coming. Meeting adjourned.